All there is what's happening. This is all there is. What's happening is sitting on a chair, hearing this voice, breathing, feelings in the body, whatever there is what's happening. Thinking can be happening, anything. So, this message is a very simple message actually. It simply points to something that is utterly simple and utterly obvious. It's so simple and obvious that it can never be understood, it can never be grasped, it can never be known. So there is nothing here that's being communicated that is for the individual. There's nothing here at all for the seeker. The seeker will never grasp this. The seeker can never know this. Because the seeker is constantly looking for this. That's what happens. The seeker feels as though it lives in a world of separation. It does. The seeking is only about separation. As a tiny child, the individual suddenly takes form. Energetically, as a tiny child, suddenly, out of utter freedom, beingness, where there is no one, suddenly there's an identification. Energy contracts. Free, boundless energy suddenly seems to contract into the body. There's a sudden sense of there being someone. An identification seems to happen. And directly that sense of there being a centre, something that is in here, that's separate from everything else, then seeking begins. Directly there's a sense of a loss of wholeness, as though something has been lost, then all that can happen after that is the longing and the seeking for that wholeness. So the nature of the individual, the nature of the identified person, the me, is to feel separate and long for wholeness. That's its function. And so it grows up in a world full of individuals who also feel separate. Although that isn't necessarily recognised, always within the whole feeling, the whole essence of being separate as an individual, is a feeling of unfulfillment. There's usually a hidden sense of dissatisfaction. Because, of course, what the separate individual experiences is being separate from everything. So the separate individual never really sees a tree or a person or the sky as it really is. The separate individual sees everything through a veil of separation, as though it's through cling film, as though it's somewhere beyond the cling film. So there's a sense of unfulfillment, which creates a longing for fulfillment. Most individuals comfort themselves by gathering in what they can. Money, lovers, whatever. Or attention, or all sorts of ways in which the ordinary individual gathers in everything in order to comfort itself for not being whole. Some people feel there's another way to find wholeness. They long for something deeper in their lives, and so they might turn to religion or therapy, or they might go to somebody who teaches them about enlightenment. we might look for enlightenment. But the difficulty is that the individual essence, the individual energy, is a transient thing. It comes and goes. And what comes with individuality is the sense that there is such reality as free will and choice, that there's a journey that the individual is on, and that journey has a purpose. So the individual goes to try and find fulfillment. It believes that with its free will and choice that it can take action to find what it looks for, what it's longing for. Like everything else, it believes it has to find the answer. So what we're sharing together tonight is another possibility. What we're sharing together tonight is the possibility that there is no answer. What we're sharing together tonight is the possibility that nothing has been lost. What we're sharing together tonight is the illumination or the revelation or the exposure of the myth of there ever being such a thing as an individual. It's possible that in sharing this together, that the whole sense of there being an individual, the whole sense of being a me who has lost something, might suddenly crumble. It does. It's happening a great deal. The whole identity is falling apart of people. And you could call it a kind of death. It is a kind of death. What we're sharing together tonight is the possibility of a death, the death of you. That can and does happen. And in another sense, although we'll be, talking together and questions will be asked, if you listen to the answers, which are not my answers, they're just answers, responses, the answers point back to, first of all, the utter futility of seeking, and the utter futility of the idea of stopping seeking. And they point to one very simple reality, the natural reality, that all there is what's happened. All there is this. All there is life happening as it is. So we can share together all sorts of ideas, and maybe some fixed ideas about being an individual can suddenly start crumbling. But the most powerful thing that happens when people are together in this openness is energetic. Essentially, separation is a contracted energy. For me, it was like Tony Parsons lived in this skin. Tony Parsons was in here. Tony Parsons was something in here. And everything outside was something else. So suddenly, Tony Parsons died. And the whole idea of there being someone in here was no more. And all that was left was everything.
Everything.
So this essentially is about a sudden
Everything.
death. What is left is absence. No one can bring about that death. There can be nothing that can be done about that death. The last thing the individual wants to do is die.
To die.
But in another sense, that is what is longed for. What is longed for is absence. Because in absence, nothing is left. There is nothing. And when there is nothing, there is everything.